Let's take a look at meeting the path of oncoming vehicles safely. This is something that you're judged on your driving test. And this is where you're dealing with the oncoming traffic, somewhere where the road narrows. And it can either be that the road naturally narrows, it could be that it has some form of traffic calming system in place, or it could be down to obstacles that are on the road. That could be parked cars that are on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, or on both sides. Now, I personally think that this is something that is such a grey area, and I think this is something where learner drivers and even full licence holders find confusing. In certain places, if you're reading the road ahead, this should be fairly easy to do, but you are going to have certain scenarios where you're not going to be able to do what you think is the norm. Even if you think it's your right of way, you may have to give way to oncoming vehicles. Now, over the past few months, what I've tried to do is gather as many video clips as I possibly can to give you lots and lots of different scenarios on the road that deal with this particular subject of meeting the path of other vehicles safely. And I hope by all the clips that I've accumulated, by the time you've finished watching this video, hopefully it will make a little bit more sense. So let's get started. First of all, the road could naturally narrow, and you may have a warning sign like this telling you that the road is narrowing. You may get a sign like this that tells you it's just narrowing on the right-hand side, but you could also have the flip to say it's narrowing on the left-hand side. With this sign, you're getting a heads up to let you know that you're going to be travelling closer to the oncoming vehicles. But somewhere like this where the road has gone wider, and you can naturally see it, if you're looking up ahead, you can see that road is narrowing. It's saying you're going to get closer to the oncoming vehicles. So don't rely on signs, open your eyes and have a look. Look how narrow this road is. So when we meet the oncoming car like here, we would take it nice and steady. Keep following this route because this is brilliant. A country lane. Look at here where we go round the bend and the road narrows massively. So if you're on bendy roads, on narrow sections like this, make sure you're looking well ahead and make sure that you approach your bends carefully in case you meet somebody large coming the other way, like a large lorry. And watch out for places like this where the oncoming vehicle is struggling to stay on their own side of the road. That then makes your side narrow. Now, some places have traffic calmings. You'll see on the thing up here, it makes the road narrow so that people have to slow down, but it's got the give way lines on the ground for us saying that we have to give way to the cars coming the other way. So we basically treat that like a parked car. But sometimes they might be on the opposite side of the road and the oncoming cars would then have to give way to you, but that doesn't mean that they will, so make sure that you're ready for them. Now, sometimes what they'll do is they'll give you more signage. So this one says that you have priority over the oncoming cars. So this sign is basically saying, hey, it's your right of way here, but still make sure you keep an eye on those oncoming vehicles because sometimes they might not stop. You can see that sign being used on this video clip here and the obstruction in the road on the opposite side. Let's give you a really easy way to remember whose right of way this sign is. You are the arrow on the left, it's the biggest. The arrow on the right is the oncoming and it's red. Stop, red, stop. That will help you remember that it's your right of way. So let's take a look at the next sign. This is an order sign, it's in a red circle and it's saying you must give priority to the oncoming vehicles. So let's take a look at where that sign is being used here. The obstruction is on our side of the road. So that means we have to have a good look up ahead, like here, before we make any commitment to go past that obstruction because it is the oncoming vehicle's right of way. You may also have noticed that it had give way lines on the ground and also a give way triangle. So let's look at an easy way to remember that for this one. You are the red arrow, that says stop. Whereas the oncoming one is the black arrow, which is the bigger one, which says that they have the priority. This one is an order sign, so it's saying you must do something. Whereas this one's giving you a bit more of a heads up and it's saying it is your right of way, but be careful. So if you had somewhere like this where you had to give priority to the oncoming vehicles and you went round and made those vehicles slow down, you could fail your test. So sometimes you might get this sign and underneath it, it might say something like for the next 100 yards. So that's then saying that that next distance you have the priority over the oncoming cars. Now again, that doesn't mean that the oncoming cars are going to play ball and slow down and give way to you, so just be prepared. So the same again with this one, it could say for a distance underneath it for the next 75 yards. And if it does that, it means for the next 75 yards while you're travelling along, if a car comes the other way, you must give the priority to them. So you're the one that has to slow down or stop. And if you have had one of these signs and it says for a certain distance underneath, once you get to the end of that section, it will say end underneath. Watch out for if you see these signs in the countryside, because sometimes the greenery from the hedges and trees have grown out and covered the signs. So somebody coming the other way may have had a sign that says that they have to give priority, but it may have been hidden by the foliage. So the next thing I want to have a look at is passing places. So these are things that are used in places like country roads where the road is very, very narrow. And they are like sort of skinny lay-bys, which allow somebody to pull into that little skinny lay-by and let the oncoming vehicle come through. Now, the passing places could be on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, and you need to be constantly looking to see where they are. Now, on roads like this, I'm going to be looking well ahead for vehicles, and I'm going to look for places like that on the left where there are gaps to see across maybe fields to see if anything is coming the other way. Now, if you see an oncoming vehicle that you know there's not enough room for both of you to meet at the same time, then what you would do is if you can see your passing point on the left, you would pull over into that one on the left and let them pass. But if you see the passing point is on the right-hand side, what you can do is pull up before you get to that passing point, allow the oncoming vehicle to come up to that point, pull into that passing point to wait for you, and then you can go past. Now, the road that I'm currently travelling on is a national speed limit. So for a car like myself, the maximum speed is 60 miles an hour. But that's not a target. That's just saying that the maximum you can do on this road is 60. But bear in mind that some people that you meet coming from the other way will be travelling most probably at fast speed. So read that road ahead and stay safe. And some of these country roads you could drive on your driving test. So now what I want to have a look at is where there are parked cars on the opposite side of the road, where technically is our right of way. So on this section, we should have right of way, but occasionally what might happen is we might have to slow down and allow people to come back in. But generally the oncoming cars will tuck back into the gaps, or like here, give way to you. Now, later on in the video, we will have a look at sections where we might have to give priority to them. So have a look here where you've got the lorry on the opposite side of the road. Although this is a wide piece of road, the oncoming cars moving out to overtake the lorry will make my side of the road narrower than it was before. So I need to make sure that I'm taking extra care just in case they affect me. Now on this piece of road, you'll see that there's a car coming the other way and he could potentially overtake that cycle. So I would always be looking well ahead, being prepared in case somebody does take a risk and moves out and narrows my side of the road. Take a look at this piece of road. It's my priority because I haven't got any parked vehicles on my side at all. But the road is quite narrow. You can see where I've just slowed it down a little bit here to allow the ambulance to come through. And then you can see along the right-hand side that they have got lots of spaces that they can pull back in. The reason I'm showing you this piece of road is because it was quite narrow there, and then on this section here you can see it starts to get wider, so the oncoming cars are further away from you. Look where they are compared to the centre line. Then once we come along this section here, you can see it's starting to narrow, and again look now how they're starting to get closer to the centre line and then actually coming over. So make sure you're always watching the width of the road, because like I say, on that section there, 1 minute they don't look like they're a problem to you and then they can be. So now let's take a look at when we have parked cars on our side of the road. So they're our problem. It's up to us to give the priority to the oncoming vehicles because it's their right of way. Now you need to be aiming to give a door's width when you're passing these vehicles, and if for some reason that you can't, then you'll need to travel slower. So sometimes you might be able to move out, build up a little bit of speed, and then you might have to slow down and come a little bit closer to the parked vehicles while the cars are coming the other way. Space and speed. So if there's nothing coming the other way, you can move your car further out, build up a bit of speed just to get yourself past. But if anything comes the other way and there's still enough room for you to go through, but obviously the distance between you and the cars is smaller, then you would just travel slower so you could travel closer to the cars. But if the gap starts to get too narrow, you'll need to tuck into a gap, wait for the oncoming cars, then when it's clear, then you can make your way through. One of the hardest things is mostly judging the width of the vehicle when you're a learner, but obviously we want to be making our way through gaps. So if there is enough room, we do need to make sure that we're making our way through. You could pick up hesitation faults if you start holding back behind parked cars when it's actually clear to go through. So dealing with parked cars on your side of the road, it's all down to planning the road ahead. So you're constantly looking for gaps where you can pull back through. You need to be looking at the oncoming vehicles and judging their approach speed so that you know that you've got enough time to get past however many cars you need to get past and get back in. So sometimes you might just be looking at getting past one car at a time, but you might be looking at 2, maybe 8, maybe 10. Always looking. So you can see here we've got 2 cars that we need, or 2 vehicles we need to get past. Once we go past, we can tuck back in, then we can start planning to wait for the next lot. Uphill, maybe a little bit trickier, so make sure that you're really organised with your gears so that you can balance on your biting point. When you can see your gap coming, then you can start moving your car forward to get back in. It's all to do with planning. So I call this technique leapfrogging. You're always reading the speed of the oncoming vehicles to work out how many parked cars that you can get past before that you need to tuck back in. If you affect those oncoming cars in any way, you make them have to slow down, change their direction, or have to stop for you, then you could fail your test. So you can see on all these clips that we've got here, we've got constant gaps where we can pull back in. We're looking well ahead, seeing when our gap comes, getting our car ready, and then moving past to the next slot where we can then pull back in. Now be careful if you're following somebody else that's doing it, because you need to know up ahead that it's clear for you to go. So just because the vehicle in front goes doesn't mean that it's safe for you to go as well. So you can see here when the white car starts to go, I can see up the left-hand side that it's clear for me to go, and then I can make my way through. But look at all these gaps. By keeping further back, I can then plan where I need to tuck back in. Because if the white car pulls back in and I haven't got enough room, I then will affect the oncoming traffic and I would fail my test for meeting the path of other vehicles unsafely. Take a look at this clip where we're following the bus. The whole road's on a bit of a curve. Now, the bus, if I get too close, will block my view. So holding back is going to help me plan much better for my leapfrogging along this piece of road. I'm letting him stay further up ahead and I'm looking for the gaps. And when I come up towards the gap, I just slightly ease off so that it gives me the option to be able to pull back in if I need to. But if he keeps going and I've still constantly got a gap, then I will keep making my way through. But you can see here where I couldn't see and then it had the oncoming vehicles. That's then when I've decided to hold back into that gap and wait for a safe gap to go. On this section, once I've started to make my way through, I have to be careful if something does come the other way because my view's not that great. I might have to slow down and go a little bit slower, and if there isn't enough room for me to pull back in, hopefully the oncoming cars will let me through. So look here, this is actually the same piece of road. Look where I'm following the orange car in front. Now I'm holding well back, which helps because you can see where the orange car tucks back in, I then have to tuck back into a little gap. But you watch what happens here. When the orange car sees a gap, he starts to go. Now I need to make sure that they're definitely going before I go to move past. You can see where he's stopped, I've then stopped as well. And he's even had to reverse up a little bit to help the oncoming car get through. Now once he definitely commits to go and I can see it's clear up ahead, then I can start moving out and get ready to take back up his space if I need to. You can see I have been fortunate to carry on through, but I've just slightly tucked back in before the blue one just in case I have to wait. Be very careful if you have an obstruction on your side of the road and it's where it's poor visibility, like here with the bend. You can see how we've started to make our way through and then a large vehicle has come at speed the other way. So don't move out too early and make sure your car is at a safe speed. The same here, we've got 3 parked vehicles all on a bend. So every time you're looking across the bend, double checking, and again, you just have to do that leapfrogging. Past one, tuck back in, and coming back into the left actually will help you have a better view and then make your way out again. Take extra care here in case somebody flies into this junction and starts making their way through these parked cars when you're on your way through to the end. So here's a brilliant example of what not to do. This is on a mock test with one of my students. You can see the parked vehicle, a bend, poor visibility. You can even see the guy that's about to get into the truck. So apart from the fact that there's a total lack of awareness and planning with the guy that's about to get into the truck, which she would have failed on, she would have also been done for meeting the path of other vehicles safely because she's moved out way too early when she couldn't see. And you can see where the oncoming vehicles have had to slow down to try to negotiate getting past her. Apart from the fact that the guy was there and she shouldn't have even attempted to go through while he was about to open his door, she should have approached it slower and not moved out as early. So now let's take a look at when there's cars on both sides. That's equal priority. But you can see here the road is wide enough, both cars can carry on going through without affecting each other. If we met anybody coming towards us that was larger, we may have to go a little bit slower. So if you're making a way along a road like this where you've got parked cars on both sides, you can see here there are lots of gaps if needed, but where the oncoming cars are coming, we're just travelling a little bit slower to meet them safely. Once it looks good, we move our car back out again and then we can make a little bit more progress along the road. Generally, you'll adopt the view of first come, first served. There's no point us making our way through here. You can see the buses making their way down. We've held back before the junction so that we don't block it. Once that vehicle's then come through, you can see the bus has given a little thank you. Then we can start to make our way through. So first come, first served generally. So you can see another section here where it's equal priority. We're actually heading uphill, and one of the most important things is to be organised with your gears. So you may have to keep gearing down when you meet the oncoming cars, looking for gaps to tuck back in. Try to negotiate that while you're getting your gears ready, maybe your first gear ready to go past again. Usually though, if I'm coming downhill and it's equal priority, I will make sure that I'm looking well ahead because sometimes it may be necessary to give the oncoming cars that are coming up the hill the priority over you because it is much harder to negotiate this section uphill, especially if you're a learner. A lot of the back streets that have no driveways have parked cars on both sides of the road. Look here, looking all the way down the road, we can see that a car is already committed to coming through. So we just wait at the top until they've finished negotiating their section. Once that's clear, then if it's good and no cars are coming the other way, we can make our way down. So I just want to stick with this area. Look how we're coming down this same piece of road. And at the end, can you see the parked car on the opposite side of the road? Parked cars both sides and somebody opposite. So the first thing I'm thinking about is somebody trying to get around these parked cars or the one that's opposite trying to come in, which then they could be coming right round in the middle of the road. Look at this section here. Anybody coming from the opposite way would have to give us the priority as we've already committed. The parked cars on the right are on the road and the ones on the left are half on the pavement. Apart from the red one that's practically fully on the pavement. But can you see, driving around these sort of roads, you need to have a good look into the road before you commit to pull out. You're constantly looking for gaps, and unfortunately sometimes what might happen is you may have a car come the other way and you may find that one of you has to stop and reverse. Sometimes it's just unavoidable, and what you're going to be doing is looking, if you're the one that has to reverse, look for where that gap is that you can reverse back to, whether it's reversing into a little space like the one here on the left, or whether you have to come fully back out from that section of parked cars. And finally, a few clips where we deal with grey areas. You can see it's our right of way, but you could see the van up ahead was struggling to go through. So here we've just held back. The van is only just gone out of view. So we know we've got enough room to get up just before the next car that's fully parked on the road. Just take your time going down roads like this, always constantly, like I say, looking for the gaps and looking for where gaps for the oncoming cars that they can pull back into. So look at this one here, making our way uphill. At the moment, it looks good. So all you do is you have to keep going. You can see by the time we get to our parked car on the left, there isn't really a gap for us to hold back here. The oncoming cars would have to let us go through. But you can see once you go past this one, we have got a little gap there that we could pull back into. Other than that, we just make our way through. And finally, take a look at this one. All the parked cars are on the opposite side, but right up in the distance, we can see a bus coming. So we're negotiating where will be the best gap for the bus to pull back in. Once we see the gap, we hold up just before it, and then we wait. Holding well back, we're making that very clear to that bus that we've found a spot that we're going to allow them to pull back in and that we're going to wait for them. Now, if you watch the bus, it actually has a car afterwards, and the car would have been much better off hanging back because there may not have been enough room for that vehicle to pull back in. As it happens, there was enough room, but you can see there's lots of gaps just along this section. All the way along here, the parked cars are on the opposite side, apart from this section here, and then that's when we go into that equal priority situation. Then this last section is back to our right of way. Like I said to you at the beginning, meeting the path of oncoming vehicles safely can be confusing. It's all down to reading the road ahead, and it can be a grey area. I really hope that by looking at all the little clips that I've gathered, it makes it a little bit easier for you to understand. Try the leapfrogging technique. I hope that helps you. Try to get as much private practice as you can outside of your driving lessons. If you're finding it expensive to get added onto an annual cover of a family member's car insurance, then take a look at learner driver insurance that insures you to drive their car without affecting their no claims. I'll leave a link in the bio below for you to take a look at. If you found this video helpful, like and subscribe to see some more driver videos to help you along your learner driver journey.